working long hours and really pushing a quality team to get this done. So please give our constructions team a great round of applause. So again, we have lots of more important things here on this program today. So I just want to say thank you to every one of you for what you mean to our cyber community and our ability to make a difference in the world and in students' lives. Today, our event here is sponsored by NTT Data Services. We are appreciative of them stepping up and helping cover the cost of this event. Honored to be associated with yours and working with you in state government. You do a lot of work for the state. We're appreciative of that. So representing NTT Data Services this evening, Tim Conway, President of their Global Government Services. Thank you.
So I know when he said Tim Conway, everybody expected it to be a little bit different, but I'll stand in his place. So on behalf of NTT Data, we're excited to sponsor the event tonight. It's been a long time in coming, and we've certainly had a long-term partnership with the state of Georgia and GTA. I had a very long bio I was going to read on the general, but he's asked me to keep it short, so I'll do my best to do that. But it is my great pleasure to introduce you to Brigadier General William J. Hartman, Deputy Commanding General of Joint Force Headquarters, Cyber of the U.S. Army Cyber Command. As you heard earlier tonight, the U.S. Army is in the process of consolidating all of their cyber command to Fort Gordon from both Fort Belvoir and Fort Meade. And so it's an exciting time for that. But from the infancy of the Georgia Cyber Center, the U.S. Army has been an active participant in the concept and really bringing together, I'll say, government, academia, and industry. And where government has engaged like this, you've seen tremendous investments and progress. And when you think of cyber, the importance of cyber is critical, and certainly critical to our defense, but critical to every single person that's here today. We've all been threatened by cyber through our lives, our children's lives, and the future of our country is dependent on the innovation that's available to us through cyber. So with that, please join me in extending a warm welcome to Brigadier General William J. Hartman.
I'm excited to be here on behalf of Lieutenant General Fogarty and everyone at Army Cyber Command to celebrate the opening of the Hall McKnight Building, part of the Georgia Cyber Innovation and Training Center. First of all, I'd like to recognize Governor Deal. Sir, thank you for your leadership. Congressman Allen, Mayor Davis, other elected officials, distinguished guests, and our academic, industry, and government partners. It's really quite an amazing collection of leadership out here, and I'm glad I could be a part of this today. I want to especially thank Governor Deal for his support of our soldiers and civilians at Fort Gordon and throughout the state of Georgia. I also want to thank the City of Augusta and the greater Savannah River community for their support and partnership of Army Cyber Command and of Fort Gordon. As most of you know, and as we've talked a little bit about with previous speakers, 2 years from now, during the summer of 2020, we expect to begin transitioning Army Cyber Command's headquarters to Fort Gordon, Georgia. This will be a milestone in the Army's choice of the Augusta region as the center of gravity for our cyber force and as a power projection platform to defend our nation in cyberspace. Between the investment associated with Army Cyber Command, the Cyber Center of Excellence, and installation infrastructure, the Army expects to invest $2 billion in Fort Gordon over the next decade. But we who lead the Army Cyber Force have long been saying that we can't consolidate at Fort Gordon all by ourselves. Always, partnerships will be critical to our success. Partnership with local government, partnerships with private industry, with our interagency and intergovernmental partners, and with academia. You've probably heard the saying that cyber is a team sport. Well, the Hall McKnight Center is a place where many of these potential team members can come together and play a pivotal role in defending the nation, both at home and abroad. I'm proud to say that our presence at Fort Gordon is already strong, and even prouder to say that it's swiftly growing. The Cyber Center of Excellence now graduates hundreds of cyberspace warriors every year, including those from the Joint Services, from the Army National Guard, and the U.S. Army Reserve. Army Cyber Command elements, including our Joint Force Headquarters, our Cyber Protection Brigade, elements of the 780th MI Brigade, are already stationed at Fort Gordon, Georgia, and currently delivering offensive and defensive cyberspace effects against our adversaries on a daily basis. But as we complete this growth, the consolidation and momentum of the Army Cyberspace Force will converge on Fort Gordon, bringing together the Army's operational, institutional, and educational cyber efforts into one location. That's going to create a tremendous synergy for the Army cyberspace operations. This center and its diverse spectrum of residents will complement the Army's efforts to transform Fort Gordon into the Army's hub for cyberspace operations and the broader Augusta region into a place known for world-class cyber talent, technology development, and thought leadership. We look forward to working in cooperation with all of you. Thank you so much for allowing me to participate in this momentous event today.
The world continues to change faster with each day. Cyber is the future, and recognizing that, I want to make Augusta and Georgia a part of that future. Through the Cyber Center, I hope to make Augusta and Georgia the center of cyber for generations to come. I was honored when Governor Deal proposed using my name because I'm proud of what the Cyber Center will bring to the community, the state, and the country. Governor Deal recognizing our university, Augusta University, to be one of 4 research universities in the state, for recognizing Augusta's high capacity for the opportunity and for advancing Georgia to the forefront of the cyber future.
In late 2016, Michael Schaffer of Augusta University and Chris Riley of the Governor's Office realized the huge investments being made at Fort Gordon by the U.S. Army Cyber Command and the NSA, and how those investments were an opportunity for Augusta and for all of Georgia. Governor Deal's reaction was the funding of the Georgia Cyber Center. Governor Deal announced it in January 2017 with an unheard of speedy completion date of July 2018. For Will McKnight and me to be honored by the naming of this building during the governorship of Nathan Deal is doubly meaningful. Georgia has never had a more innovative or successful governor, and no governor has done more for the Augusta-Columbia County community and for the state of Georgia than Governor Nathan Deal has done. Most of all, I want to thank Governor Deal for his vision, his enduring leadership, and for all that he has done to improve Georgia.
The governor wanted to make a significant investment and lead the nation around cybersecurity, because the reality is cybersecurity impacts every sector in the state of Georgia. Every company is dealing with cybersecurity issues, and it's critical that as a state of Georgia that we're leading the nation. I would like to personally thank Governor Deal for his leadership over the last 8 years and how he has moved the state of Georgia forward. Obviously within the cybersecurity realm and the investment that he made in the Augusta area, but honestly everything that he's done that impacts every citizen in this state across every policy area.
Cybersecurity, cyber issues are multifaceted and range across a number of disciplines. computing, coding, health, finance, all undergirded by a variety of technologies. And it's an area that's rapidly changing, and a center focused on the teaching and the research and the application of cyber issues is desperately needed in our state and will really help us advance our discoveries and understanding in all three of those areas. The Cyber Center will have a modern facility for researchers and students to develop new technologies and new ideas about how to deal with cyber threats and advanced cyber infrastructure, including advanced mobile technology, technology infrastructure, and cyber technologies dealing with the products that we haven't even thought of yet. Governor Deal, you've made Georgia the #1 state to do business. You've made it the #1 state for criminal justice reform. You've made it the #1 state for financial strength, and now you've made it the #1 state for cyber. Thank you for your vision, and thank you for your courage in carrying your vision out.
The Georgia Cyber Center sets Georgia apart from other states. It provides access for students across the state to the best instructors in the nation. It enables our students to compete and learn with students from across the state in an environment that is all about cybersecurity. But it also brings together industry. And industry and business being on site gives two advantages. Number one, industry's out there day to day learning exactly what's going on, exactly what these students need to learn. And so they're working with instructors, but it also allows those students to have access to these businesses and industries for future employment. And that sets Georgia apart because no other states that I'm aware of have this type of facility. This facility, it puts Georgia and keeps Georgia at the forefront of cybersecurity. It will grow, it will grow with business and industry being there. And he's always made that tie between education and business and industry. This is and will be one of the most important things that he's ever done for the state of Georgia. That will be here a long time, and we will entertain other states and other nations coming to see what the state of Georgia's done because of his vision.
This is going to have a huge impact on the university from several points of view. For one thing, it's going to force us to be more nimble in terms of how we provide curriculum. How can we provide training and education that keeps the students abreast of the rapidly developing fields in computer sciences and cyber sciences in general. So we have to be at the forefront of that. We have to be at the forefront in terms of providing that training. We have to be at the forefront of providing research too. And I think the great strengths we have in the biomedical sciences positions us uniquely to be not only a regional leader, but a world leader in the cybersecurity of electronic medical records and electronic medical devices. That's the next frontier of cybersecurity and cyber hacking, and we want to be right at the front of that frontier. Governor Deal has been one of those individuals that cares deeply about the entire state of Georgia, not just Atlanta, but the other Georgia. He's devoted a tremendous amount of his effort towards making sure that the entire state of Georgia prospers, being one of the leading states in the country in terms of the best place to come to do business for many years running now. He's forced us all to think strategically and to think long term and to have an incredible vision. And I just want to thank him for his vision, for his courage to put the resources behind what he sees in his vision is going to bring the best to Georgia, and to giving Augusta University an opportunity to participate in what is going to become one of the most exciting and dynamic fields I think we've ever seen in terms of the university.
Augusta Tech will be offering cybersecurity classes at the Cyber Center downtown. We will have our advanced students taking Cisco classes. There will be a Cisco lab located in the Cyber Center, and we will be in charge of that particular lab. We see the vision of where the Cyber Center is going to go as something that will help us develop curriculum and help us to create a workforce that will grow the economy in this region and throughout the state. Well, Governor Deal, this is one where you hit a home run. You've hit a lot of home runs in your 8 years in office, but this vision of the Cyber Center in downtown Augusta, along with the growth at Fort Gordon, makes just a lot of sense. But it took your ingenuity and your ability to lead to get us to this location at this point. And all I can say is thank you.
The governor's vision was, how do we continue to make Georgia the #1 place to do business? So between Augusta Tech and Augusta University, at a local level, both of us will be in the building, and our job is to work side by side, that no matter who you are, when you come to this building, we should be able to take care of your educational needs. If it's in the cyber arena, you should be able to get it in this building. This building, it's a state asset. And so any university or any technical college can access it virtually. But as being the host, it allows us to form partnerships. I would just like to thank Governor Deal for all of his vision and all of his efforts, and that he has given this tool. It's located in Augusta, but it has such an impact across the state.
The Georgia Cyber Center was developed, the governor seeing the need for workforce development in the state. We have a major partner with the U.S. Army Cyber Command moving from Fort Meade to Georgia and trying to help them meet their mission. And part of that discussion with them, the governor saw the need they need skills in the cyberspace, very technical skills, and we saw that we could be a great partner of theirs if we would help in the workforce development area. As we continue to think about the Cyber Center and its development, we look across the globe. By the year 2021, it's 3.5 million job openings expected. 500,000 of those openings are right here in the U.S., with some estimated 10,000 plus openings here in the state. So the need is broader than just the Augusta area. It's a statewide need, and we believe that the Cyber Center, when it's fully functioning in all of the areas, will help Georgia meet the need for the talent that is already in short supply and will only continue to grow. And there's so many different opportunities leveraging the tools, the skills, the expertise in the building that I think will impact in a very positive way for many decades to come across the state. And we've designed the facility in a way to try to get people out of their spaces and to interact and share ideas with each other. And so I think as people see the facility, they'll understand that it is about how do we work together to solve problems and to make a difference in this space to help protect our information and just to learn many different things that we can do to help each other to be successful. Governor Deal, it's been absolutely a pleasure working on this effort with you. The governor's vision and his leadership and the ability to provide the resources to accomplish this, and then bringing all the partners together. I think his vision for the different groups from the, pulling the technical college system in with the university system and saying that we can do this together and build off each other's strengths. It's just very unique, and it's been tremendous to be a part of that, to play a small role in making this a success.
I look back in my career, and when I had a really critical project, the first thing I did was look for a leader. The second thing is always look for the team. And the team had to have, again, a track record of success, a group I could trust, proven results, stay on budget, stay on schedule, and keep me from being fired. So I think that's the reason GTA was picked. And obviously Governor Deal made a really good decision. A lot of politicians can promise great things. Very, very few actually deliver on those promises. And I've watched Governor Deal over these last 2 terms. He delivers. And he's an honest politician, he's an honest man, a good man, and most of all, he does what he says he's going to do.
The partnership will benefit the state and nation, and the state will be benefited by the fact that we will allow, we'll be training cyber experts within this facility that will then be able to fill some of the drastic shortages within the cyber workforce that the country and the world is experiencing right now. And so Georgia's going to be a step ahead of anybody else in the nation because of hopefully the throughput that we have of training these experts to come into the workforce here in Georgia and help out private industry. I just can't express enough how important this is and how much of an impact it's going to have on our state primarily, but also our nation.
What will happen is that we're basically doubling our footprint in the cyber crime fighting world.
So we're going to have much more capabilities to investigate and pursue cyber criminals. Another component we're going to have in the unit is we will have university internship program. GBI has had an internship program since 1972. We have trained, we've had juniors and seniors in the university system come into our operational work units, serve an internship, learn about the criminal investigation work. They can then determine whether this will be a career for them or not. We routinely work with our federal law enforcement partners, the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, the Secret Service, U.S. Postal Service, all of the federal law enforcement agencies that have role and responsibility in cyber crime fighting. We'll continue to have those partnerships. I've also offered the opportunity for the federal agencies, if they wish to have their investigator represented in the center, we have the capability and the space for them to be there. I want to thank Governor Deal for his foresight in working with the legislature to establish the Georgia Cyber Center, and for also working with the legislature to ensure that the Georgia Bureau of Investigation receives resources so that we can expand our workforce in cybercrime. This will be a success, not only for the state of Georgia in its cybercrime fighting, but also it's going to benefit all Georgia citizens.
The United States Department of Army decided to transition its Army command of cyber out of Fort Meade down to Fort Gordon. So therefore, when that investment was made, Governor Nathan Deal wanted to take full advantage of this and place Georgia in a very receptive position. And in doing so, there's several avenues that you need to address. One of those is workforce, whether that's preparing our workers for the next generation of private sector jobs, but more important, how can our K-12 education support the Army's decision of transitioning to cyber command? And cyber is huge, it's in everything we do. So this was a huge endeavor, and one that we took very seriously and tasked in how can the state prepare itself in meeting these needs and partner with the federal government and Department of Defense and NSA and having a great cyber center, and thus the Georgia Cyber Center was created. Being able to prepare our workforce with an educated, trained, sustained cybersecurity background is extremely important, and one of the main reasons that we need to be able to hit the ground running when this great facility is opened up and fully functional. So I think this Georgia Cyber Center is not only going to fill a niche currently, but will fill a huge need for generations to come. Let me thank the community of Augusta for not only embracing this idea, but investing in it, and knowing that this is an opportunity not only for Augusta, but for our state to lead the nation in yet another issue facing our region, our state, and our nation. So thank you, Augusta, for believing in Nathan Deal.
Good evening. To go from a video to firsthand, I'll stick to the video. If you'll indulge me, it brings me great humility to wear these glasses that I purchased at the local pharmacy, but they make things very clear on my paper. And just for the record, I have written remarks that I thought could not be hacked until the drone went over. So here we go. The video was obviously a great video, a great production that Calvin and his team put together, and a tribute to not only this great facility, but to our governor. The video organizer and producer provided a list of questions for me. They wanted me to think about the questions in order so I could be prepared for my answers. What it did provide me is a further thinking of introducing the governor. So if you'll indulge me, I want to think deeper about three issues. Why Augusta? Why Nathan Deal? And why is Chris Riley introducing his boss at this great event? Let's start with these why questions with the easiest one first. Why Chris Riley? Well, that's very simple. I haven't introduced my boss since 2015. I'm assuming they felt sorry for me. I do have a little history with the project. And the reality is, I can never say no to Teresa McCartney and Michael Schaffer. If you'll indulge me a few more minutes, I want to attempt to answer the more serious questions of why Augusta and why Nathan Deal. I do have a lot to say on that, and I know it's a little hot tonight. I do feel like a minister at an old-fashioned camp meeting, so I may pad my forehead a little bit, but just hunker down. I'll be quick. As most of you may know, I've been with the governor since May of 1992 in a volunteer status or in a paid position. It's been a long time, but it's been a road well-traveled and one I'd never, ever substitute. It's been said in the press, so it has to be true if it's said in the press, that I can read what he will say, I can answer the questions that he will ask, I will know what he will be thinking, and I will know how he will react in situations. Well, from time to time, that's true. But the governor, being the governor, will throw me a curveball just to keep me honest. So as I continue to answer the why questions, and since it is year 8, let me let you in on a little secret of the Nathan Deal tell sign. When the governor gets anxious and when he gets a little nervous, he tends to cross and uncross his legs. Now, he can't cross left over right because he was removed from saddle from a horse years ago. But when he gets nervous, he'll cross those legs numerous times. So that's a little tell sign whenever you're in a meeting. And I've noticed up here tonight on stage, those legs have crossed. So why Augusta, Georgia? Well, the obvious answer is the Army Command Cyber Center being located at Fort Gordon is the most deserving answer. I feel it's incumbent upon us as a state and local community to embrace and support our military partners who live, work, and raise their families in our state. Our investment in this Georgia Cyber Center is critical to that very partnership. But why Augusta? Is it because Augusta has had 8,122 jobs created in the private sector since 2011? It has to be that Augusta Technical College has graduated 14,883 trained and skilled workers since 2011. Or why Augusta? Because Augusta University, our flagship medical school, has had $107,200,000 invested in capital bonds by Governor Nathan Deal in our General Assembly since 2011. Maybe it's because Augusta not only led on transportation, but stepped up and partnered with the state when the state led in 2015. No, I think this might be it here. I think it has to be the 593 graduates of alternative courts that have graduated from this very judicial circuit. These individuals are now rehabilitated, and Augusta has embraced them. These graduates now and forever prove themselves to be of value to our community, state, and nation. Governor Deal has said numerous times that the core of our criminal justice reform is rehabilitation and training someone to hold a job. I know you've heard him say it, that the job is the crucial foundation block to any criminal justice reform. And on a side note, and one that the governor is extremely proud of, and we all should be very proud of, did you know that in our state prison system we have a 28% reduction rate in African American males that are housed now? That's something this state ought to be extremely proud of. We lead the nation in criminal justice reform. Is it because the local school superintendents and boards were willing to work with the state in a partnership to find a pathway for schools to improve but also implement criteria in the curriculum so high school students are educated, trained in cyber-related fields when they graduate? And on a side note too, I would like to add, did you know that this year, in year 8, the Quality Basic Education Funding Formula was fully funded for the first time in over 30 years? That after 7 years of conservative budgets, tax cuts, and economic growth, year 8 provided the opportunity for this governor and General Assembly to fully fund QBE? We ought to be extremely proud of it. It's been said tonight, and it has to be true too, because I believe it. It's because Will McKnight and Jim Hull always step up and respond every time with yes. What can Augusta do to step up and do it? And they do it time and time again. Is it because the governor was stationed in Fort Gordon after leaving Mercer Law School? Is it because the First Lady's first teaching job was in Augusta, Georgia? I bet it's because the governor and First Lady's first child, Judge Jason Deal, was born in Augusta. I'm convinced the answer to why Augusta is all the above. However, in my opinion, why Augusta should include a reference to the late Congressman Charlie Norwood. Charlie, as we all know him. From 1995 to 2007, Charlie Norwood and Nathan Deal became best friends. These two were like peas and carrots, as Forrest said. Like any good staff, I took Charlie's call every time. And Michael Schaffer took Congressman Nathan Deal's call as well. Michael became the older brother that I always wanted. Can I take a few minutes and talk about Michael Schaffer as a personal privilege? He was the first person I called when the governor decided to run for the office of governor. He was the first job offer that I extended when the governor won the governor election in 2010. He's someone that I would trust to do anything and everything, no matter what. He is Augusta's biggest fan, fiercest supporter, and most loyal son. I hope you'll join me in thanking him for leading this effort we now stand before as a reality. I hope you're proud of him, because the governor and I certainly are. A quick story. One afternoon in May of 2009, Governor Deal, Michael, and myself were sitting in Duncan Johnson Sr.'s dealer's showroom office. The governor was explaining why he felt the need to run and why him. Duncan Sr. was grilling us all pretty good on Augusta-related issues, from transportation to UGA versus MCG, and why MCG had to remain in Augusta. And with all due respect, Save the A was very critical and important, but it was a walk in the park in 2010 when MCG was being threatened to go to Athens in several circles. It was extremely critical to Augusta. Governor Deal looked at Duncan and said, if elected, Duncan, I promise I'll look after Augusta the same if it were Charlie. Duncan said, you know, Nathan, Charlie told me years ago, the perfect governor for Georgia is Nathan Deal. By getting elected, I got the honor of my word to Charlie. Before he passed, he said to me, take care of him, boy. I said, yes, sir. Now, I didn't know who Charlie was talking about. Was he talking about the governor or Michael Schaffer? So I decided to take care of them both. So it's simple, really. It's all about just keeping your word. Which brings me to why Nathan Deal. Let's start with a few facts. 2010 won the primary runoff with 2,517 votes. His home county of Hall County turned out 103% in the runoff versus what they turned out in the primary. Divine intervention? Maybe so. He's a man who listens more than he speaks, whether it's to the legislator, business prospects, CEOs, or the simple person that approaches him on the street, in a cafeteria, in a filling station, no matter where. He tends to listen before speaking, an asset I strive for. He's a man that will always see the good and positive in anyone as his first impression of it. Governor Nathan Deal is a calming leader who has provided the steady leadership over the last 8 years. When faced with 18 separate natural disasters that our state has faced, which include 2, not 1, but 2 hurricanes that our state hasn't seen in over 130 years. But can we just be honest for a second with each other? The truth is, we had to elect Nathan Deal because it was the only way that we could get Sandra Deal's First Lady of Georgia. So in closing, my answer is simple. Why not Augusta? And why not Nathan Deal? It's my great honor, and no, it was not my decision, Governor, but it's my great honor at this time to announce that this campus is now to be called the Nathan Deal Campus for Innovation. Would you please join me in welcoming the 82nd Governor of the great state of Georgia, Governor Nathan Deal.
Well, that was a surprise. I want to just say a few things because this is not my night. This is a night for all of you. This is a historic day in Augusta, Georgia. It is a historic day in the state of Georgia, and I believe it will prove to be historic for the entire nation. Now, this new facility that I have had the opportunity of touring just a little while ago, which is absolutely gorgeous, is named for 2 of your native sons right here from Augusta. They are the ones who had the basic idea that when the federal government was going to spend the $2 billion to bring the cyber security issue to Fort Gordon, and when NSA was also beefing up in terms of cybersecurity efforts, that Georgia should be in on the action. And they brought the idea to us, and we embraced it very readily. Now tonight, you're going to hear, and have already heard, 4 names. This first facility is going to be named for Jim Hull and Will McKnight, and it will be the Hull McKnight Training Center. And these are 2 very deserving individuals. They have been leaders in this community and for our state as a whole. And I was told a little story about while this process was undergoing to construct this building, that at one point the issue was, well, we can't do the concrete in the time frame that it needs to be done. These 2 guys who are very knowledgeable about construction, they suggested that they could do it in a different way with the concrete. The builder said, well, that could be done, but it's going to cost more money. Well, they got busy and raised the money. And that's what cut some of the time off and made this building opening today possible. Now, think about it. Going from a vacant lot to this facility in just about a year's time is phenomenal. The only project that I had seen since I've been governor that even comes close was when Caterpillar announced a new manufacturing facility over in the Athens area. I went to the groundbreaking for that, and I went back for the ribbon cutting, and it was a year, exactly, almost a year. I said that was the reason that they were able to do that was because when we had the groundbreaking, they had the Caterpillar machinery already out there running and cranked up. That's the reason they made it. But now to build a building like this, which is much larger than what Caterpillar was doing as a manufacturing facility, this is truly phenomenal. So I want to join in thanking all of those who had a part in it. And there are a lot of people. Some have been mentioned, some have not. But if you were a part of it, just know that you are very much appreciated. And it took your efforts to make this possible. Now, there are... I could tell you a lot of things, but I'm going to try to abbreviate it because I grew up about 60 miles from here. I was on the fall line too, and I was accustomed to the hot weather. And so when I was stationed here at Fort Gordon, General, at that time I was a young captain and an instructor at what was then the Military Police School that was here at Fort Gordon. And by the way, everything Chris said about our family connection here to Augusta is true. He mentioned that our oldest child was born here. Our oldest child was born in World War II barracks that served as the hospital at Fort Gordon in those days, which was a little over 50 years ago. Our son has celebrated his 50th birthday this year in January. So it's been quite a while. But there are a lot of things that had to happen. And it had to happen quickly. Now, not only is it unusual that we completed this building in such a short time frame, that may not be unusual in the private sector, like Caterpillar, but it is unheard of in the public sector where you're talking about public institutions and public funding. Now, there's another person whose picture you saw and who is here with us as well, and I'm going to recognize her again in just a minute. Teresa McCartney, who is the head of our Office of Planning and Budget. In other words, as Chris always says, she's the lady with the checkbook. Now, normally, for government to do something of this magnitude, $100 million, you would have the General Assembly authorize the selling of bonds, and then you would wait for the best time to sell your bonds so you get the best rate, and then you would wait for people to buy your bonds, and that takes time. Teresa, who is another one of those people who has major responsibility for this happening, she figured out that we could simply do it with cash. Coming up with $100 million in cash, when she said she could do that, I thought she could do most anything. I'm going to mention her again in just a minute. But to the two founders of whose names are on this new building, thank you, gentlemen. Thank your families who are with you here tonight. We appreciate your being here. We're all going to be proud of what this has done and what it will do. Now, as I was going through the building on the tour, I saw all of these students and instructors with their t-shirts, black t-shirts with white lettering on it, saying the Cyber Training Facility. Now, I want to say to all of you who are out and about in the community, be nice to those people, because there are going to be some multimillionaires and maybe even billionaires who will come through this facility with their new ideas, and as entrepreneurs who will be very, very successful. So you don't want to be anything other than nice to them. I'm going to conclude with this. Chris Riley is indeed a great chief of staff. Everybody who has had anything to do with my office knows that he gets the job done. He works hard, harder than anyone you could ever imagine. His days are longer than anybody I know, and he is devoted to doing his very best. He is a good personal friend. He is almost, and I'll give his age away here in a minute, he is almost as old as our oldest son. He is as old as our second child, a daughter, and he goes consistently every day, working extremely hard. Now tonight, unbeknown to me, y'all have given me a lot of credit. Most of that credit belongs to Chris Riley. I hope you will give him a hand for that. Congressman Allen, when I was in Congress, I was griping one day to my staff about the fact I just could not find out anything. I couldn't find out anything about the schedule we were doing because I was one of those guys who just didn't stay in Washington on weekends. I flew back. And I couldn't find out when we were going to go in session. I couldn't find out when we were going to adjourn. And I was complaining about it. And he said, well, Congressman, you know, knowledge is power. And those who've got the knowledge don't want to share it. I want to suggest to you, this facility is going to reap the knowledge. That's what they're doing. They're going to steal it if they have to. That's part of what they're supposed to do. And they're going to try to make sure that nobody steals your knowledge, because knowledge is indeed power. And that's why what is happening here, the students who are being trained, the jobs that they're going to be taking, the provisions that they're going to be making for private industry in terms of the security of their operations, for the federal government through the military for their operations, it is so vitally important. No other state can come anywhere close to the state of Georgia in this facility. $100 million from the state. And Mayor Davis, I must join Chris in saying thank you to Augusta and Richmond County for stepping up, for being a partner with us in putting up the money that was necessary. And to your administrator, thank you for making it possible for us to move quickly. We brag about the fact that if you come to Georgia, we don't throw up roadblocks that are unnecessary. We try to find ways to say yes and not take the bureaucratic way of saying no and then try to be held accountable. Thank you for what y'all have done at the local level. So, we talked about how great this opportunity is, and it's going to continue to become manifest over the years that are coming. There's another building right next door, and it is well on its way to completion. Now, that is a rare situation as well. I won't spend much time with it, but we began to see more interest in this first building than anybody ever anticipated. In fact, the interest was so great that it became obvious that the first building alone was not going to be sufficient to accommodate the needs. So we decided, well, let's build another one. There again, government doesn't usually start building another project right next door to the one that they hadn't quite completed yet. That takes a lot of faith. That takes a lot of confidence. That takes a lot of support from those who are also involved and invested in making this happen. But that's exactly what we did. We went ahead with the money and the funding to do the second building. And my understanding is that it's going to come online in December of this year. I thank them for that because I'm going to be exiting this office on the second Monday in January. So I appreciate the fact that you're coming to the second building before I technically leave office. But what about that second building? Well, the only thing that would make this better is if we named it after Chris Riley, because he's been really the glue that has held all this together, the guy who has figured the angles to make sure that things could happen timely, but he's too modest to accept that. He pulled this naming over on me, because I would have never agreed to that, but I am honored by it, and I thank you for that. The second building is going to be named the Schaffer McCartney Building. You have heard the two individuals. Most of you know Michael Schaffer. Raise your hand, Michael. I see you over there. He said he had a dress code that we were all supposed to abide by. We didn't, and he said it embarrassed him that he didn't have his coat and tie on. He's the only smart one of us. We're all up here sweating. The other is Teresa McCartney. And Teresa, I thought I saw you over there. Where'd you go to? There she is. Okay. Teresa McCartney. It'll be the Schaffer McCartney Building. And history will record that the contribution of these two individuals who worked very tirelessly behind the scenes to make all of it happen are truly worthy of the naming of that new building after them as well. So, as I said at the beginning, this is a historic day for this community and for our state. We will truly be at the head of the pack on a very important issue that is going to continue to be an issue that will be with us for generations yet to come. It will affect our defense mechanisms. It will affect our financial security. It will affect us in a private and public capacity in almost every facet. Sandra is almost obsessed with the fact that somebody's going to hack into our private information and get our money out of our bank account. I keep telling her that's not going to happen, and we don't have enough money for them to fool with. They're going for the big guys. If they went for ransomware on us, we'd just have to be the ransom. We wouldn't be ransomed. We'd just be out there. We'd just be without it. But it is an important area. It is one that will continue to be important. I want to thank General Gerard. You saw his face and his statements in here. But General Gerard, as the Adjutant General of our state and head of our National Guard, he went to the Pentagon, having served as a career Army officer. He knew a few people up there, and he convinced them that we really did need the extra